Hey everyone, my name is Arvind. I'm a pre-medical student in the US, and today I'm going to show you how you can best organize and plan your podcast using a program called Notion. I started my podcast around June to July, and using the system on Notion has really saved me a lot of time and decreased a lot of hassle with organizing and planning how exactly I did things. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about what Notion is for those that aren't familiar with it and how you can download it. And then we're going to show you the template that I've created to help you organize your podcast. And then finally, I'll show you how I use that template to organize my own podcast, just to kind of bring it full circle. So first, what is Notion? Well, Notion is a productivity tool that you can use to really organize any part of your life. It's kind of difficult to explain simply, but you can use it to make a to-do list. You can make it to organize your calendar. You can use it to plan YouTube videos. And in this situation, you can use it to plan your podcast. In this tutorial, we're not going to be going too in depth into the details of Notion because we're using a template and you can basically just fill things into that template. So all I need you to do is click the link in the description and download Notion, make an account and everything. And once you've done that, we can continue with the tutorial and I'll show you step by step how to use that template, even if you're not familiar with Notion. Okay, so now once you've downloaded Notion, we'll go into the template itself. Okay, so this is the podcast template. And so in order to get this, all you have to do is go to the link in the description. And then when you go to that link in the corner, it's gonna say, click to duplicate or something like that. You click on that and basically it'll let you import it into your Notion. And so then you'll have the same exact page in your Notion and you can customize it. Going into the template, there are three main parts, and we try to keep it basic because you don't want to overwhelm it with too much stuff. You have the brainstorming section, you have the solicitation message, and then you have the guests. So we're going to break down each one of these step by step. First, with brainstorming, if you click this little toggle right here, you're going to see a bunch of questions here, but these questions will help you organize your thoughts about what you want your podcast to be. And having them here allows you to look at them whenever you want and make changes accordingly. Basically, these are your run-of-the-mill brainstorming questions and they're very important to answer. So what is your podcast exactly? What is the value of it? What are the goals? The elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is very important because you're going to be saying this on basically every single one of your episodes in order to remind your listeners as to what exactly your podcast is about, as well as explain to new listeners what it is. So elevator pitch is very important. Keep it succinct, but also address all the points. And then you want to know who your audience is to better address that. How will you find your guests? What kind of people are you getting? And these two questions right here, I really like. Why can you run this thing? And what can you do better to run this thing? So you really need to take a second to introspect, right? You got to ask yourself, what makes you qualified to talk about this? For me, for example, my podcast is about healthcare professionals talking about their diverse perspectives into the world around us. And it has anecdotes from these healthcare professionals and, all kinds of stories. The thing is, I am not a healthcare professional myself yet. So the question might arise, why would someone that's not even a healthcare professional be qualified to run a podcast about healthcare professionals? And so that's where I took kind of an interesting turn on it, because the thing that makes this podcast different is that it's not a podcast for solely healthcare professionals. It's for the general public. And as myself, not being a healthcare professional, I'm able to kind of bridge that gap between healthcare professional and non-healthcare professional to make the episode, enjoyable by anyone, whether or not they're in medicine. So you really want to think about why you have the ability to run your podcast, and you want to put that down here. So whenever you're feeling discouraged or anything, you can look back at this. So very important questions. And so that's all for brainstorming. So we'll just close that toggle for simplicity's sake. This solicitation message is very important. This is the message that you're going to be sending to the guests that you want to have on your show. You don't want to, have to send out a million individualized message. Of course, you want to send those to certain guests, but for the vast majority, you want to make sure that you're making it as efficient as possible and you're reaching as many people as possible. So you can keep it very simple. Just say, my name is this, I am this, whatever makes you qualified to do the podcast. And, you talk a little bit about your podcast, and then you ask them if they're interested and give them reasons for why you think that they would be interesting on the podcast or why they should be on the podcast. And, you don't want to keep it vague. You want to make sure that you're showing them that you've done a little bit of research on them, because that's very important to, convincing them or to make them actually want to. So definitely do research and put that research down here so they could be like, oh, they actually, looked into my stuff. And then you want to make sure you link your podcast and thank them for their time. So, you can send this through DMs, you can send this through emails. It's really universal and you can use it for really anything. So we'll close that. You just fill in your information there. And this section right here is, I think, my favorite section. So this is where you're going to put all your guests. Whenever you're having a new person coming in, this is where you're going to have that. And, if you aren't having guests on your podcast, you can easily change that into, podcast episodes, different topics that you're talking about. But, an interview type of podcast or a conversation type podcast, you're going to have, a guest. So this is called, this is a database in Notion, and it enables you to do a lot of really cool things. So we'll just take a sample. For example, let's say we have a guest named John, okay? Guest named John. And here in this category tab, we can ask, okay, what kind of guest is John? And so, like I said, I'm running a healthcare podcast. So I'll say, John's a nurse. What kind of nurse? He's an ICU nurse. Okay, so I put that down in the category, so I have easy access to that. This status right here gives you a drop down. And so you're able to select, have you already contacted them? Have you scheduled them? Have you published that episode already? So you have this list of tags that you can select from. And so this really, really helps you stay organized with all the guests that you're reaching out to. Like right now I only have one here, but I'll show you on my personal podcast and I'll show you on that template how many different people are on there and how easy it is to lose track of who those people are. If you have a system like this, it'll be much easier to keep track of that. So let's say I contacted him, he hasn't got back to me. So under notes, if you have any additional things you can put down there. Let's say we have another guest named Michelle, and she is a dermatologist, yes. And we need to follow up on, because what she said was, I reached out and she said she wasn't available right now, but she said to reach back out in March. So what I'm going to say here is reach back out in March. Easy as that. And then, we can put another name down. Just keep it generic here. And here, if we have it scheduled, just put it down under scheduled. And, it'll easily organize them based off of what you need to see first. So your scheduled, of course, are the most important ones. So you want to keep those on top. And then contacted, and then it goes down in this order. Now, the really interesting thing about this is now what you can do is whenever you hover your mouse over one of these, you can see this little open as page thing. So when you click on that, you see these templates. Okay, so if you have different episode types, you can make different templates, but for simplicity's sake, I've already provided a basic episode template. So you just make the episode, you can control with your arrow keys and select that episode outline, hit enter. It's going to load for a second, and it's just going to automatically come up with this basic stuff. So like say there are questions that you ask every guest, you can add these to the template, and then those will come up every single time you assign that template to a new guest. So this makes it really easy to keep all your information for every guest in one place. You can put all your background research, you can put the questions here, you can write the intro that you would film like for your episode here. You can keep everything in one place, and that's really important when you're actually talking to this person, right? What you can do is have this pulled up, on a different screen, and every once in a while you can take a glance over there to see, what kind of questions you can ask or what kind of information you can pull from, just to make your conversation a little bit more interesting. So very valuable stuff here. And again, like I said, if I pull up John, I can do the same exact thing. And then it's gonna load and then it'll fill up stuff here. Let's say you wanna change some things for yourself. I'll show you how to do that real quick. So let's say for Michelle, you wanna change this template a little bit. You hit edit here, and basically you can add like another section if you want, or you can add like a question like, what is something wish people knew about your practice? Something like that. We can hit back. And so now if we hit this episode outline, what you're gonna see is that question comes up now. So that's how you can customize these templates. So for every episode after this, you're gonna see that question come up. So that's basically the template. It's very easy to use. I found it very, very helpful to organize. And so now I'll show you how I use it to organize my own podcast. Okay, so this is my page for my podcast. Shameless plug here, Medspectives. It's a podcast about healthcare professionals with their diverse perspectives into the world around us. Definitely check it out. I'll link it down below as well. But same thing I have here, brainstorming in the same section here, all the information. And I can show you, what exactly I have written down. So it might help you with filling it out yourself. And so, you can pause whatever. Okay. So those are all the things I have down for this. And you can take your time to read through that. Okay, I'm gonna close that. And now I have my solicitation message, basically the same exact thing. And here we have the guests. And like I said, I've reached out to a lot of people and this list really does add up. But as you can see, these are all the people I need to follow up on. I've contacted all these people, I've scheduled this person. And so I can see everything color coded very easily in one place. And that is such a relief, right? It keeps me much more organized than having things all over the place. And so then now I can show you how I use the templates that I organize. So let's pick this one, for example. I have some background information that I've collected based on research. And I bring up these things during the episode. And then I have topics that I want to discuss during the episode, and I bring those up here so I don't forget them. And then here I write the little intro based off of the conversation we had for the episode itself. So that's how I use it in practice. It is really an amazing system and helps me so much to stay organized with my podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, definitely leave it a like, subscribe if you want to stay around and watch some other videos. I'm gonna have more videos coming out about podcasts, productivity, videography, college, all kinds of things. It's gonna be a really nice time here. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions, but thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.